prayers. For everybody's benefit, I'm going to put the prayers on the screen so you can feel free to recite with me. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai
Shri Gurave Namaha.
Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shakilam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagara Gunatan Vitam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna
Sandhuti Bandho Jagatpate Gopeshe
Gopika Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi
Radha Vrindavaneshwari Krishna Bhanusate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye
Vanchakalpatarubhya Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam
Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasa Adhikara Bhaktivinoda
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Shri Nandina Taranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Varam
Krishna Chaitanya
Purve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya
Krishna Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namah.
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Rama Rama
Rama
Hare
Rama
Hare
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining. So this is our second time we're reading Bhagavad Gita, but I'm going to change the style. This time it will be more of a guided reading rather than like a class. So we will read all the verses, all the purports, and I will just pick out the important points from the purports and bring to your attention. The first verse was, I'm sharing it. Please everybody recite. This is a memory verse, so please recite. We will focus on memory verses and try to recite them a few times. And I might take some sessions where we just try to learn these verses sometimes. So please mark for yourself. There are at least out of 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. So as you know, 700 verses, 575 are spoken by Krishna. About 83 are spoken by Arjuna. And this one verse is spoken by Dhritarashtra. About 40 something are spoken by Sanjay. So there are at least 150 some verses that I know are very, very important that Prabhupada quotes many times in different purports, and they help to increase, improve, augment our understanding of the scriptures if we know those verses. And it also improves our faith. It also connects us to Krishna. I'm speaking this from experience. If you recite these verses and memorize them, it connects you to Krishna in a better way that many other actions may not. But this has very potency of doing that because these are Krishna's words. So let's recite this. Dhritarashtra Vacha Dharam Kshetre Kurukshetre Dharam Kshetre Samveta Yuyutsava Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kim Akurvat Sanjaya. I'm not going to spend time on this verse because we spent a whole class, almost 1 hour, 20 minutes or so on this one verse. The import of this is that Dhritarashtra is speaking to Sanjay and hearing Bhagavad Gita, watching the whole scene through the words of Sanjay. Sanjay is able to see everything going on the battlefield because Sanjay has been given the Divya Drishti or the divine vision. and he is narrating everything going on the field to Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra asks Sanjay, "Tell me, O Sanjay, what is going on in on the field, battlefield of Kurukshetra?" Kurukshetra, which is also Dharamkshetra, where religion or dharma is established, where God's will be established. On that field, what is going on between my sons, Mamaka, and between Pandu's sons, Pandava? What are they doing? So from this verse, we understood that Dhritarashtra is actually very fearful. He wants this kingdom for the enjoyment of his sons. He wants this kingdom for his own enjoyment. He has been power hungry ever since he was born, and he he felt that he should have been given the rights to this kingdom, which he never received. So he wants to acquire this now with power and force. And he really wants everyone to fight and get this kingdom for himself and his sons to enjoy. But he's worried, he's fearful that on this Dharamkshetra, his sons may not win, because this Kurukshetra is a holy place, divine place, where only dharma will uphold, where only righteousness or divine plans will be upheld. And since his sons are not on the side of righteousness, since his sons are very aggressive, sinful people, evil people, they're not fit to rule. It's this Kshetra will not allow them to win. Secondly, he's also worried that it's possible his sons will become weak and decide to compromise under the influence of this divine place. They may compromise, they may decide to retreat from this war. But if they suddenly feel righteous and they decide we should not fight this war and give up the kingdom to Pandavas. So he is very fearful of all these things happening. So this verse actually betrays the fear of Dhritarashtra. It shows us his bodily attachments. It shows us his separatist mentality, where he divides his sons and Pandavas because of relationship to his body. So he's not very much concerned that the right people should rule the kingdom. He's more concerned that his sons should rule the kingdom, although they are not fit to rule, although they are not the representatives of the Lord. They have no divine qualities, yet he just wants them to rule, forgetting that as a king, it's his dharma, it's his goal, his aim should be to establish righteous rule in the kingdom and not just establish people that are evil, even though they are connected to his body. So he's in bodily conception of life. He's in false ego, which is called bodily conception of life. And this is not befitting a king who is a leader of the Kuru dynasty at present. So many things we understand about Dhritarashtra's mentality from this verse. We also learned that actually not only Dhritarashtra, but Duryodhan is very fearful. So is Arjun, very fearful. But Arjuna's fear is not about losing. Arjuna is actually fearful of winning and committing a sin against all his relatives and teachers and friends and other authorities that are fighting. He's worried about winning actually. So his fear is coming from a sattvic platform. His fear is in mode of goodness, whereas Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra's fear is from mode of ignorance, matlab tamasic, and rajasic, mode of passion. So also we understood that Arjuna, even though he was fearful, even though he was misled in the beginning, he was also going to commit a dharma, much like Dhritarashtra and Duryodhan. Arjuna was going to retreat from the war and going to commit a dharma. But he took guidance of Supreme Lord. He took guidance of a very great spiritual personality in his life. He took guidance of his, not only his friend and well-wisher, but somebody who was spiritually very learned. So Krishna was able to pull him out of that situation of adharma, of committing sin, and put him on the right path. So we understood that even if we are assailed by fears, even if we have bodily attachments in this world, which we all of us have, we should take right guidance so that when we perform an action, it is not just materially or bodily motivated. It is a righteous action because spiritual people can give us the spiritual vision. They can they have a bird's eye view of the big picture, so they can show us the big picture. We tend to become very narrow minded. They can take us out of that narrow mindedness and show us the big picture, that this will be good not just for you but this is going to be good for the whole kingdom. This is going to be good for generations to come. For this will be according to divine plans. This will actually be the will of the Lord, and there will be no sin here. You are becoming very narrow-minded here. So this is what Krishna was able to pull him out of. So he took the right guidance. These are all the things. This is the summary of the first verse that we discussed last time. Now we will, in answer to Dhritarashtra's question about what is going on the field, Sanjay will start speaking. So let's recite all these verses and read all these purports. We'll start. Please recite after me. Sanjay Uvacha. Sanjay Uvacha. Patu Pandavanikam. Drishtva tu Pandavanikam. Vyudam Duryodhanastada. Acharyam Upsangamya.
Acharyam Upsangamya.
Raja Vachanam Abravit. So let's read. Who wants to read the translation and purport?
May I read it?
Yes, please.
Sanjay said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. Purport. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion. And he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjay could understand his motive in asking about the situation on the battlefield. Sanjay wanted, therefore, to encourage the despondent king, and thus assured him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the holy place. Sanjay therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief Dronacharya to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhana is mentioned, although Duryodhana is mentioned as the king, he still had to go to the commander on account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite fit to be a politician, but Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military. ये थोड़ा change करो. Military arrangement of the Pandavas. Hari bol.
I'm not sure what. I don't have anything on the screen. Okay, so this verse, so Sanjay is now explaining to Dhritarashtra what is going on in the battlefield. So he says, next thing that happened is Duryodhan went to his teacher. Duryodhan went to Dronacharya and started speaking. Okay, so in purport, Prabhupada is explaining about Dhritarashtra's intention in asking this question. We understand that he was worried his sons might make a compromise or they might lose the battle. So Sanjay said, I don't think they will make any compromise, basically. We understand that. But Sanjay also told him that Duryodhan is now going to speak to Dronacharya. And Duryodhan is mentioned here as king. If you see Raja Vachanam Abravit. So Raja here refers to Duryodhan. Because right now Duryodhan is acting as the representative of Dhritarashtra, who is the real king. But also Acharyas tell us that he is mentioned as Raja because he is very expert in Rajniti. He's very expert in politics. He's a very diplomatic, manipulative person. So unfortunately, Rajniti has come to mean something negative. Rajniti has come to mean, influencing people in a very manipulative or diplomatic way, which Duryodhan was very expert at doing. And so you will see in his conversation with Dronacharya over next few verses how he would try to manipulate Dronacharya. But even in this manipulation or the games that he will play, Duryodhan's fear is apparent. You can see that Duryodhan is also very fearful. Just like Dhritarashtra was fearful, Duryodhan is also very fearful. And we know that Duryodhan is fearful of losing, right? So his fear is disguised as manipulation. Duryodhan will try to manipulate his army. He will try to boost the morale of his army, like Bhishma and Dronacharya and Kripacharya and Ashwathama and all these people, by boasting about his army. So you will see all of that. He will try to build up their confidence and try to boost their confidence by boasting about look how wonderful our army is, and their army is nothing compared to ours. So he's very expert at these type of activities. It's like a sport for him. So let's see what he will say to Dronacharya. Verse 3. Pashyatam Panduputraణam Acharya Mahatim Chamum
Acharya Mahatim Chamam
Vyudam Drupad Putrena
Yudham
Drupadaputrena
Tav Shishyena Dhimata Tav
Shishyena Dhimata.
Please read this one. So Duryodhan is speaking to Dronacharya.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I can speak. I can read.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to
Can you
point
read
out.
the translation also, Prabhuji?
Okay. O my teacher, behold the great army of sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of Dronacharya, the great Brahman commander-in-chief. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada, the father of Draupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. As a result of this quarrel, Drupada performed a great sacrifice, by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet a liberal Brahman, he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the son of Drupada, Drishtadyumna, was entrusted to him for military education. Now the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Drishtadyumna took the side of Pandavas, and it was he who arranged for their military flanks. After having learned the art from Dronacharya, Duryodhana pointed out this mistake of Dronacharya so that he might be alert and uncompromising in fighting. By this, he wanted to point out also that he should not be similarly lenient in battle against the Pandavas, who were also Dronacharya's affectionate student. Arjuna especially was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Duryodhana also wanted that such leniency in the fight would lead to defeat. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Duryodhan is now speaking to Dronacharya. He's saying, look at this. So first of all, he's pointing to the army of Pandavas. So to the opposite side. He's showing the army to Dronacharya. He's saying, behold this great army assembled by the Pandus. And the army phalanx, like the formation of the army, of the how the army is formed, how people are standing, how various formations are made. Remember that on each day of battle lasted 18 days. And on each day there was a different formation of the battle. Different shapes of birds were used, or different type of shapes were used. Spirals and shapes and other things were used by the commander to keep changing the formation of the battle, how people were standing, where would the foot soldiers stand? Where would the chariot drivers stand? Where would the people on elephant riders stand? Where will the horse riders stand? All those formations were arranged in a particular way, and that will decide the technique of war for that day. So Drishtadyumna was taught all this military phalanx formations, and this art of war was taught to him by Dronacharya. And who is Drishtadyumna? Drishtadyumna is the son of Drupad. Okay, so Dronacharya is Dronacharya. Okay, so this is a backstory here. So Dronacharya and Drupad, okay, they used to be friends. But at one time, Dronacharya fell into great poverty. Dronacharya had nothing to eat, and he could not feed his children, his son, and him and his wife were in great difficulty. So he approached Drupad Maharaj for some help, and he asked Drupad to give him half of his kingdom, something like that. But Drupad refused. He laughed at him and sent him away. At that time, Dronacharya trained Arjuna and sent Arjuna to fight against Drupad. And Arjuna defeated Drupad, and at that time, Drupad felt very humiliated. So Drupad wanted to take revenge from Dronacharya, and so he conducted a great yagya by which two kids were born. One was Draupadi and one was Drishtadyumna. Drishtadyumna, so that's why it's said that Draupadi is born out of fire. She's Ajanma. She's not born out of a mother's womb. She's born out of fire. Drishtadyumna was similarly born out of fire also. And Drishtadyumna was born specifically for the purpose of killing Dronacharya. So, and Drishtadyumna went to Dronacharya for the training of war, for the training in military arts, okay, in martial arts. And even though Dronacharya knew that Drishtadyumna has been brought in this world to kill him, yet Dronacharya agreed to train him. Okay, he gave him all his secrets of fighting and this phalanx formation and art of war, everything, the various weapons and everything he taught Drishtadyumna. And so now Duryodhan is pointing this mistake to Dronacharya, that you knew this Drupad Putra has been brought in this world for the sole purpose of killing you, and he has now joined Pandava's side. He is their commander-in-chief, and he has expertly arranged their army in such a beautiful way. And this is all because of you, because you taught him. Tav Shishena Dhimata. This is the Dhimati, or this is the intelligence of your Shishya, your disciple. You taught him all this, and now that disciple is standing against us. So he's basically telling Dronacharya, you're such a fool. So he's telling his own teacher, you're such a foolish person. Why did you do that? Why did you train Drishtadyumna? And now Drishtadyumna has become so powerful that he's now leading Pandava's army, and they're standing in such a solid army against us. And he's been given this power, this intelligence by you. So he's sort of bringing this Dronacharya's weakness, this fault in front of him. So in this way, he's reminding Dronacharya of his previous mistake. This is what a lot of devious people, a lot of manipulative people do. You know, they prey on other people's weaknesses and faults. So now he's alerting Dronacharya, but also the purpose of this verse is he's alerting Dronacharya, you were such a fool, you made this mistake in the past because of affection. But this Arjun and other Pandavas, they are also your students. Now don't become lenient with them. Fight properly against them, because any leniency in this war will cost us. It will lead to our defeat. So don't make a similar mistakes. Be alert. Don't fight with your heart. Fight with your brain, because Pandavas are also very dear to Dronacharya. So Duryodhan is worried that Dronacharya, out of his affection for Pandavas or out of his affection for Drishtadyumna, will not fight properly. So he is sort of warning Dronacharya, you already made a mistake in the past. Now don't be lenient. Be aggressive, be alert, and don't let your emotions rule you. Fight properly. This is what he is reminding Dronacharya by showing this army. Okay. Let's keep reading. I hope that is clear. I know I told the story very quickly, but all you have to understand is that Drishtadyumna was brought by Drupad to kill Dronacharya, and this Drishtadyumna received training from Dronacharya in all the military arts, and now he's standing opposite Dronacharya, leading Pandava's army in this fight. Can be a little complicated story if you're not familiar with it, but But just understand that Duryodhana is using a diplomatic tactic to manipulate Dronacharya so that Dronacharya will not lose his focus in this war and not let emotions override the intelligence. Let's read the next one. Atra sura maheshwasa, atra sura maheshwasa, Bhimarjuna samayudhi,
Bhimarjuna samayudhi,
Yuyudhano viratascha,
Yuyudhano viratascha,
Drupadascha maharatha,
Drupadascha
Drupadascha
Maharatha.
Maharatha.
Please read this.
I can read Mataji.
Yes.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Here in this army are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. Great fighters like Yuyudhana,
Yuyudhana,
Virajada, and Drupada.
Virat, and Drupada.
Drupada. You want to read the purport,
Yes.
Mataji?
Yes.
Okay. I cannot see that. Okay. Even though Drushtadumna was not very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there are many others who were causes of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna, and thus he compared the others with them. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So just so Duryodhan is now saying that Bhima and Arjun, we already know they are amazing in fighting. Okay? Nobody is equal in fighting to them. But actually, there are people in their army that are comparable to Bhima and Arjuna. Their army is composed of many, many strong people. So here the word Maharathi is used. This is often explained in Mahabharata that Maharathi is somebody who is able to fight with 10,000 warriors at a time. So actually, Bhima and Arjun were even beyond Maharathi. They were Adhirathi. Adhirathi can fight with unlimited warriors at the same time. Maharathi can fight with 10,000 people at the same time. Rathi is somebody who can fight with only one chariot or one person at a time. And Ardharathi is somebody who is not even capable of fighting with one at a time. He needs help even with fighting with one. So in this way, there is Ardharathi, Rathi, Maharathi, and Adhirathi. Bhima and Arjun are Adhirathi, and these other people that are mentioned are Maharathis: Yuyudhana, Virata, Drupada. Okay, so he's showing Dronacharya that there are so many other amazing people on the other side that can lead to their victory. So be alert. Basically, he's telling Dronacharya, be very careful. Let's read next one. Drishtaketuschekitana,
Drishtaketuschekitana,
Kashirajascha viryavan,
Kasirajascha Viryavan,
Purujit kunti bhojascha,
Purujit Kunti Bhojascha,
Shaibhyascha narapungava,
Shaibhyascha Narapungava.
Let's read one more also. Yuddhamanyuscha vikranta,
Yuddhamanyuscha Vikranta,
Uttamojascha viryavan,
Uttamojascha Viryavan,
Saubhadro Draupadayascha,
Saubhadro Draupadayascha,
Sarva eva Maharatha,
Sarva eva Maharatha.
Please recite. Remember, we just read Gita Mahatmya, how reciting each and every verse, even one verse, it said even one word can liberate you. So even if you are not audibly reciting, at least recite on your end. Please read these translations, these two translations.
Mataji, I can read?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. There are also great, heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kasiraja, Purujit, Kunti Bhoja, and Sabya. The sixth, they are mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamaja, the son of Subhadra and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. Hari Bol.
So he's just listing the names of all these Maharathis. He said there are so many other Maharathis like Bhima and Arjun. Bhima and Arjun are like the benchmark. They are like the gold standard. But now these are others that he's mentioning that are very comparable to Bhima and Arjun. So imagine you can't even fight with one Arjun. One Arjun had defeated their army when the little battle happened in Virat. Just after the Gyatwas, after the 13 years of exile, if you remember, a battle happened in Virat, and Arjun alone had fought against Dronacharya and Karna and Duryodhan and Kripacharya and all these people and defeated them all. So it's so hard to stand alone against alone one Arjun. What to speak of all these other Maharathis they have assembled who are very much comparable to Bhima and Arjun. So this is actually a good thing about Duryodhan, that he is very aware of the strength of the other side. When fighting, or in a sport, one should be aware of the strengths of the other side. So this is a sport for him. So he's aware of the strengths of the other side. So he's naming these powerful fighters. Kashiraj is the king of Kashi. Kunti Bhoj, as you know, is the king of Kunti Bhoj, from where Mother Kunti was born. Then there is the son of Subhadra. Here the word Narapungava is used. Narapungava means hero among the humans. So there are so many heroes among humans. Viryavan, he's using many nice adjectives to emphasize the heroism of these people, the strength, the courage of these people to Dronacharya. Viryavan, these are very courageous people. And Narapungava, they're heroes among men, heroes among humans. They are Maharatha, they are Maharathis who can fight with 10,000 people at a time. Again, Viryavan word is used. And he said the son of Subhadra is so powerful. And then all the sons of Draupadi. Remember, Draupadi had 5 sons. So she had son from each Pandava. And so those are 5 sons. As you remember, at the end of Mahabharata, each of those sons was killed by Ashwathama very unfairly in their sleep. And they were very young. They were just teenagers, basically. So they were very young. And these sons of Draupadi are also Maharathis, actually. Great chariot fighters. Let's keep reading. So we'll read next 2 together. Asmakam tu vishishtaye. Asmakam tu vishishtaye. Tanne bodha dvijottama. Tanne bodha dvijottama. Nayakamam sainyasya. Nayakamam
Sainyasya
Samgyartham tan brabhimite.
Samgyartham tan bhavimite.
While reciting, please remember that A with diacritic on top is A. Okay, so Nayaka. So when you're trying to read, keep those in mind, and it will become your second language as you keep using that those connections make those connections in the brain. So this will be asmakam. It won't be asmakam or asmakam. It will be asmakam because A has a diacritic on it. And whenever S has a dot or a line on it, it is sh. So vishish. So vishish, and this ta, this will be not ta. It's not vishishta. It's vishishta because it has a dot underneath. Vishishta. So with that in mind, try to recite. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha. Bhavan
Bhishmascha Karnascha
Kripascha Samitim Jaya. Kripascha
Samitim Jaya
Ashwathama Vikarnascha.
Ashwathama Vikarnascha
Somadattis tathaiva cha.
Somadattis tathaiva cha.
Can somebody read these 2?
I can read, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. But for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you almost about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. There are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta called Bhurishrava, who are always victorious in battle. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Duryodhana mentions the exceptional heroes in the battle, all of whom are ever victorious. Vikarna is the brother of Duryodhana, Ashwathama is the son of Dronacharya, and Saumadatti or Bhurishrava is the son of the king of the Bhalikas. Karna is the half-brother of Arjuna, as he was born of Kunti before her marriage with King Pandu. Kripacharya's twin sister married Duryodhana.
Dronacharya.
Oh, sorry, Dronacharya. Sorry, Mataji.
Okay, so this verse, so now he's turning, so he has looked at Pandava's army, he has admired their Maharathis and showed all of that, the beautiful military formation created by Drishtadhyumna to Dronacharya. So he said, look, Drona, this is the army of Pandavas, so beautifully organized and wonderful soldiers, warriors in there. Now he said, look at my army. So he's now turning attention to his army. So he says, oh, Dvij Ottama. Dvija means Brahman. Dvija means twice born. So a Brahman is somebody, so everyone takes one birth when they are born into this world. So we have taken one birth. Twice born is somebody who is also spiritually, who has taken their spiritual birth. So they have taken a Diksha from a spiritual master, or they have entered into a spiritual life. So they are called twice born. So just entering into this material life or body, everybody does by force, by the rules of nature. But being twice born is a, taking spiritual birth is voluntary. Okay, that not everybody does. Only people that are spiritually inclined towards self-realization, they do that. So he says, so those people are Dvijas or twice born, also they're called Brahmanas. He said, Dvijottama, oh, best among the Brahmanas. So he's flattering Dronacharya, he's saying, oh, best among the Brahmanas, look at my captains, my warriors, Nayakas. So like he was addressing other people also as heroes. On the other side, they are Narapungava, Viryavan. Like that, he's also addressing his people as great, very heroic people, Nayak. They are the, look at my captains also. In my Senyasya, of my army, look at my captains. So this word I found was very funny. He says, for your information, you know how we say FYI? Samgyartham in Sanskrit, Samgyartham means FYI. So if you ever want to say FYI to somebody in Sanskrit, you can say Samgyartham. But for your information, because he knows that Dronacharya already knows who are there in his army, but he's still emphasizing this. So he's saying, FYI, my army is not any less than Kaurava's army or Pandava's army. Actually, my army is pretty strong. FYI, Samgyartham. Please see my army also. And then he's pointing each and every one. He's saying, you are there. So of course, Dronacharya, who has actually trained so many Maharathis on the other side, all the Pandavas were trained by Dronacharya, and Drishtadhyumna was trained by Dronacharya, and possibly many others. So you are there, the military teacher of everyone. And Bhishma is there. Karna, of course, remember that Karna is not fighting in the war right now. Karna had taken a vow that I will not fight in this war until Bhishma was the commander-in-chief. So Drishtadhyumna is leading the other army. Bhima is leading the other army, and Bhishma is leading this army. Bhishma is the commander-general. So until this army is in the control of Bhishma, I will not fight. Why? Because Bhishma never trusted Karna. Okay, Bhishma never approved of the friendship between Karna and Duryodhan. So Bhishma always used to be very skeptical, cynical about Karna, and he would express this thoughts against Karna very vocally. He would say to Karna that you are a bad influence. Both of you are bad influence on each other. So one day Karna got very irritated and he said, I will not fight in this war until Bhishma is the commander general. Okay, so Karna is right now not on the field, but still Duryodhan is counting him in his army for now. So he's saying, you are there, Bhishma is there, Karan is there, Kripacharya, you know that Kripa, his sister Kripi is married to Dronacharya. So Kripa and Dronacharya is actually relatives, because Kripi is married to Dronacharya. Ashwathama, you know, is the son of Dronacharya. Vikarna is one of the brothers of Duryodhan. So you know that Duryodhan is 100, Duryodhan and Kauravas, they're 100 in number. But Vikarna is specifically mentioned here. Wise, and then of course son of Somadatta, other people are called, son of Somadatta is Bhurishrava. So he said all these Maharathis are there. Why Vikarna is mentioned here? because Vikarna was the only Kaurava on the day of gambling match who resisted, who spoke in favor of Pandavas. When Mother Draupadi was being insulted, at that time Vikarna opposed. Vikarna spoke up, and he was the only one that dared to try to stop Duryodhana and Dushasan for the atrocities they were committing. So Vikarna was the only one who spoke up. Yet, because of the blood, this blood relation, he is forced to fight. So Vikarna is sort of helplessly, you can say, fighting on the side of Kauravas. There are many people actually, including Bhishma and Drona, that are just unwillingly fighting on the side of Kauravas. Vikarna is one of them. So Duryodhan in this verse is especially talking about people that he knows are unwillingly fighting on his side. Just because of their relationship to the throne, because of their blood relationship to the family, they are blood bound to fight against Pandavas. So they have to honor this throne, and that's why they're fighting on the side of Kauravas. Vikarna is one such person. That's why, in order to boost these people's morale, so that they will stay allegiant to him, so that they will not betray him in the battle, he is using their names especially. Okay, so again, using diplomacy here. Let's keep.
Krishna, I have a question.
Yes.
These people like Karna and Ashwathama, they were always very allegiant to Duryodhan, right?
Yes, they are, but like Bhishma is not, Drona is not,
Yes.
Vikarna is not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course, Ashwathama and Karna have no doubt. They are very much bodily bound, like they're in very much of indebted to Duryodhan because of his friendships with them, and he has maintained those cultivated friendships with very strong people. um, like some people that are very weak internally, they try to have very strong friends, like strong personalities as their friends, so that those people will support them in time of need. So he knows that people like Karna and Ashwathama, he has maintained, he has cultivated these friendships with these people who will support, who will be ready to lay their lives for him in the war. And these people are exceptionally skilled. They're skilled in all kinds of warfare and different types of weapons, and they are very strong against Pandavas. We know that Karna was the only one who could match against Arjun. So he has maintained that, he has nourished that friendship. He would never go against them. So them he has to please. That's why he's using their names, but he's also using the names of people that he thinks will not be very allegiant to him, that are unwillingly fighting. So this is also a trait of some people, diplomatic people, who who go out of their way to maintain friendships with some strong, influential people, skillful people who can be of use to them just for the purpose of their use. They want to use them in future. So he wants to use these people for his own benefit in future. So ये सिर्फ use के लिए, it's not, एक दिन मेरे काम आएंगे ये लोग, like that mentality. Let's keep reading further. अन्ये च बहवासुरा, अन्ये च बहवासुरा, मद अर्थे त्यक्त जीविता, मद अर्थे त्यक्त जीविता, नाना शस्त्रा प्रहरणा, नाना शस्त्रा प्रहरणा, सर्वे युद्ध विशारदा, सर्वे युद्ध विशारदा. Let's just do this one. Who wants to read this one?
I can read, Mataji.
Yes.
There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons, and all are experienced in military science. Purport. As far as the others are concerned, like Jayadratha, Kritvarma, and Shalya, all are determined to lay down their lives for Duryodhana's sake. In other words, it is already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukshetra for joining the party of sinful Duryodhan. Duryodhan was, of course, confident of his victory on account of the above-mentioned combined strength of his friends. Hare
So
Krishna.
he's very confident. He's saying these people are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. There are so many, not only these people, but many other heroes who will lay down their lives for my sake. He's showing confidence in these people, and he's highlighting their allegiance to him, their loyalty to him. But Prabhupada has twisted this in the purport. He's saying that these people will truly lay down their lives because they're fighting on the side of Adharma or Duryodhan, so they are bound to get killed. So they are bound to lay down their lives for Duryodhan. So Prabhupada has twisted it. He's saying it is already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukshetra because of joining the party of sinful Duryodhan. So in both ways, they are, and anyways, they are going to just lay down their lives for Duryodhan. Let's keep reading. Aparyaptam tad asmakam,
Aparyaptam tad asmakam
balam bhishma bhirakshitam, balam
bhishma bhirakshitam
paryaptam tva idam etesham,
paryaptam tab edam etasam
balam bhima bhirakshitam, balam
bhima bhirakshitam.
Please read this.
I can read, Mataji.
Yes.
Our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhishma, is limited.
Bhima.
Bhima, sorry, is limited.
Pehle Bhishma tha, then Bhima.
Bhima, oh sorry, Mataji. Herein an estimation of comparative strength is made by Duryodhana. He thinks that the strength of his armed forces is immeasurable, being specifically protected by the most experienced general, grandfather Bhishma. On the other hand, the forces of the Pandavas are limited, being protected by a less experienced general Bhima, who is like a fig in the presence of Bhishma. Duryodhana was always envious of Bhima because he knew perfectly well that if he should die at all, he would only be killed by Bhima. But at the same time, he was confident of his victory on account of the presence of Bhishma, who was a far superior general. His conclusion that he would come out of the battle victorious was well ascertained. Haribol.
Haribol. So now he's saying, my army is actually aparyaptam. It is paryapt. It is immeasurable. It is beyond measure. Like it's unlimited. It's so wonderful, and it is being perfectly protected by our general, who is also my grandfather Bhishma. So the general of the army is Bhishma. And Pandava's strength in comparison, now he has compared both armies. Now he has looked at the warriors of each army, and he's saying actually Pandavas are okay, but their strength is limited. They are protected by Bhima, and their strength is limited. So he's comparing Bhishma and Bhima and strength of both armies. So this is important verse here because you have to always understand the context of why this is being spoken. So Duryodhan was always very envious of Bhima. Okay, Duryodhan had special animosity against Bhima, always. And if you remember, Duryodhan had hatched a plan to kill Bhima in his childhood. So as children, when they were playing, he had fed Bhima poisonous kheer one time. Understanding Bhima's weakness for food and for sweet things, he had fed him poisonous kheer, because he knew that Bhima was one of the very strong ones. Bhima had a strength of 10,000 elephants or something. So he wanted to really take Bhima out of the picture, and he was so envious that even as a child, children are not that much envious like this. But he was so envious of Bhima even as a child that he had tried to kill him by feeding him poisonous kheer. And also his envy had kept growing through the years. In fact, as you know, Bhima and Duryodhan both had the same skill set. Both were trained in same use of same weapon. What weapon were they skilled in? What was their skill set? Huh? So they were skilled in both Gada, right? In fighting with the Gada, and both had the same teacher. Who was their teacher?
Dronacharya.
Gada. Who had trained them Gada Yudh?
Oh, Gada.
Think about it. Somebody would know.
Krishna Balram.
Lord Balram.
Balaram Mataji, Balaram Maharaj.
Lord Balram. They had same teacher. They had been taught the same skill set, and they were often pitted against each other because they were very well matched with each other. So they were equally matched. And as you know, in Mahabharata, when the last fight happened between Bhima and Duryodhan, they were very much equally matched. So they had same skill set, same teacher. They were often pitted against each other. So it happens in real life also, that when somebody has the same skill set as you often compete with that person. You often compare with that person or criticize that person or become envious of that person. It's so, for example, if two people play the same sport, two cricketers will be envious of each other, but a cricketer may not be envious of, let's say, a dancer. Two dancers may be envious of each other, especially if they have the same dance form that they use. So they will be envious of each other. They may try to put each other down. They may try to criticize or downplay the other person's performance. So this is the human nature, that we are often critical or comparative with people that have the same skill set as us. So we pitch ourselves against them and try to downplay their performance, often instead of glorifying them. Either we glorify them half-heartedly, or we try to even downplay their performance. So in this way, Bhima and Duryodhan had this animosity, special animosity. But also, not only that, Bhima, if you remember, at the end of gambling match, he has taken 3 vows. He took at the end of that insulting, horrific gambling match, he took 3 vows. One vow was that I would kill all the sons of Dhritarashtra, all the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, I alone would kill them. So Bhima had taken that vow, कि मैं सारे 100 के 100 पुत्रों को मार दूंगा, right? Then second vow he had taken was, because Duryodhan had made this obscene gesture during the gambling match, where he had indicated Mother Draupadi to come sit on his thigh, on Duryodhan's thigh, which was a very obscene gesture by Duryodhan for a chaste lady. So Bhima had taken the vow that I would break the thigh of Duryodhan. I would break uski jangha tod dunga. I would break the thigh of Duryodhan. And third vow he had taken, these 3 vows were specifically taken by Bhima. Okay. Third vow he had taken was, so if you remember in gambling match, Dushasan had pulled at the hair of Mother Draupadi. He had dragged her into the assembly by pulling her from her chaste hair. And so this was intolerable for Bhima and other Pandavas, but Bhima had taken this vow that for this gesture of Dushasan, and for everything else Dushasan did, of course, try to disrobe her and everything, for all this, I would tear his chest apart. Okay, I will break his chest and I will drink his blood. So Bhima had taken this very aggressive, very violent type of vows against the sons of Dhritarashtra. So actually Duryodhan was also very fearful of Bhima. So right now, when somebody is fearful, they try to downplay that person. Ye kya kar lega, dekh lenge isko hum, like that kind of attitude. So he's trying to downplay Bhima by saying that what can Bhima do? His army is very limited compared to our army, which is now being conducted by great general grandfather Bhishma. So Bhima is nothing compared to Bhishma. Bhima is like a fig in comparison to Bhishma. Prabhupada is saying like a fig in the presence of Bhishma. Ye kya kar lega hamara. So he's now downplaying Bhima's strength and power and ability to conduct this army. So he's basically, and he always used to look for any opportunity to put down Bhima. This is one such opportunity here. So we can see again, this verse is actually betraying his fear of Bhima, because he's internally very fearful of those vows that Bhima had taken. Let's read a couple more. I just wanted to finish this section where Duryodhana is speaking. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu.
Ayaneshu cha sarveshu.
Yatha bhagam avastita. Yatha
Yatha bhagam avastita.
Bhishmam eva bhirakshantu.
Bhishmam eva bhirakshantu.
Bhavanta sarva eva hi.
Bhavanta sarva eva hi.
Please read this.
Can read, Mataji?
Yes.
All of you must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. Purport. Duryodhana, after praising the prowess of Bhishma, further considered that other might think that they had been considered less important. So, in his usual diplomatic way, he tried to adjust the situation in the above words. He emphasized that Bhishmadeva was undoubtedly the greatest hero, but he was an old man, so everyone must especially think of his protection from all sides. He might become engaged in the fight, and the enemy might take advantage of his full engagement on one side. Therefore, it was important that other heroes not leave their strategic positions and allow the enemy to break the phalanx. Duryodhana clearly felt that the victory of Kurus depended on the presence of Bhishmadeva. He was confident of the full support of Bhishmadeva and Dronacharya in the battle because he well knew that they did not even speak a word when Arjuna's wife Draupadi, in her helpless condition, had appealed to them for justice while she was being forced to appear naked in the presence of all the great generals in the assembly. Although he knew that the two generals had some sort of affection for the Pandavas, he hoped that these generals would now completely give it up, and they had done during the gambling, as they had done during the gambling performances.
Haribol. So this is also very important. Again, shows Duryodhana's diplomacy. So he knows that their strength lies in Bhishma. He's relying on strength of, he's riding on the strength and skills of many friends and teachers and his grandfather Bhishma. He's relying on the strength of Karna, of Kripacharya, of Ashwathama, of Dronacharya, Bhishma, all these reliable people. So, he knows that out of those, especially their strength lies in supporting Bhishma, who is the most important player. Okay. But also Bhishma has two weaknesses. One weakness is that he is actually very affectionate towards Pandavas. It will be very hard for him to kill Pandavas because he's very strongly connected to them, through his emotions, through his heart. So that is a problem. That is a weakness of Bhishma. And second weakness is that he's old. So, and victory really depends on Bhishma's performance. So he wants everybody, and he's also making other people feel valued by telling them that they need to support Bhishma, that Bhishma is great, wonderful, but everybody else needs to support Bhishma. And this is a strategy used in sports also, and this is one of the art of war also, that whoever is your strongest warrior or player is, that other people should somehow support him so that he stays alive, he stays active, active in the war without any hindrances. So this is what Duryodhana is doing. So he's saying that it shouldn't be that Bhishma is fighting, fully engaged on one side and fighting, and the enemy enters from other side. Enemies break the phalanx from other side and enter into our army. So people should not leave their assigned positions in the phalanx, and they should be strategically positioned and not give up their positions and support Bhishma in whatever way he needs. So also, other point Prabhupada is mentioning is, so yes, there is this problem that Bhishma is affectionate towards Pandavas, but Duryodhana is also hopeful that Bhishma and Drona, even though they are very affectionate towards Pandavas, they did not speak up in the gambling match. Their allegiance to the throne, their loyalty to the Hastinapur's throne is so strong. They are ruled, for them, that is righteousness. That righteousness is so strong for them that hopefully it can, just like they did not speak up then, maybe again they will not be shy in fighting against Pandavas. Maybe they will shy properly with, aggressively against Pandavas with full force in favor of the throne of Hastinapur, even though they're doing this unwillingly, but hopefully that whatever drives them to be loyal to the throne of Hastinapur will still help them in fighting this war. So he's relying on that loyalty to the throne, which they displayed in gambling performance. They did not speak up against Kauravas. They stayed quiet, and that showed Duryodhana, that gave Duryodhana strength that these people are on my side and they will fight in my favor wholeheartedly. So he just wants them, Bhishma especially, to fight wholeheartedly and be supported in all aspects. Okay, now blowing of conch will start. I think we will stop for today because it's 10:20. I want to take some realizations or some questions. So I'll stop here. Let's hear from everyone. I know some points. I mean, this chapter is actually very easy because it's just mostly the historical context coming in. But context is very important when reading scriptures. We should know why the battle is being fought and what is the nature of the people fighting the war. So it's not that Bhagavad Gita is promoting violence or Bhagavad Gita is promoting aggression against other people. It is not saying that you just fight in the name of God or things like that. It is not promoting terrorism or anything. You have to understand the historical context that these people were really adharmic. These people were really sinful. These were very violent, aggressive people that were not fit to rule the earth. So ruling Hastinapur or kingdom of Hastinapur means ruling the earth. All the others were minor kingdoms that were under the control of the main throne of Hastinapur. So if that throne goes to somebody who is so adharmic, who is not a representative of the Lord, who has no divine qualities, that is against the will of the Lord. That will not be good for future generations, for the future destiny of the earth. So their rule needs to be overthrown, and righteous person, a representative of Lord, needs to be set up on the throne. So we have to understand this historical context and not take Bhagavad Gita out of context, which many people that misinterpret the understandings of Bhagavad Gita do sometimes. So that's why this interpretation is important. We are getting an insight into Duryodhan's weaknesses and strengths and his mentality, his mindset, and Dhritarashtra's mentality. And then we will come to the mentality of our hero, the pure devotee of the Lord, the friend of Krishna, which is Arjun. And that mentality is what we need to embrace. And with that mentality, we will hear Bhagavad Gita. I'll stop here. Anybody wants to ask any questions, share something, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So the whole Mahabharata, I guess the starting point was the Draupadi's Chirharan. That was, I guess, there were little things that happened throughout Pandava's lives, but I guess the main focal point was that Chirharan incident. Do you think at that time, if the so-called dharmic people,
Mataji, let me just pause you there for a minute before you go into the next phase of your question.
Okay.
So Mataji, that was a very big turning point in all the aggressions or injustices that had happened against Pandavas. That was one of the very major injustice, right? But remember that despite that, Pandavas had tried to negotiate peace. They had embraced their 13 years of exile without any opposition, right? They had gone to the exile and they had conducted themselves. The rules and regulations of exiles were followed properly by them, and those rules were imposed by the throne of Hastinapur, right, by the king.
Yes.
And they had embraced those rules as their fate, and they had carried through with the decision made by the king properly. Right, for 13 years they were fine in their forest exile and Agyatwas. After that, as per Krishna's guidance, they had tried to negotiate peace still. So, and Krishna had actually gone on their behalf to Hastinapur to negotiate peace. He said they don't even need the full kingdom. Remember, they used to be the kings of Pandavas, used to be the kings of Indraprastha, and Indraprastha was a barren land that they had made into a very flourishing kingdoms just by their own efforts. There was no help from anyone. Pandavas, by their own efforts, had made a barren land into Indraprastha, and they were ruling very nicely. Arjun had become Dhananjay. They had conducted Rajasuya Yagya. They were doing so well. And out of enviousness, Dhritarashtra and Duryodhan invited Pandavas to that gambling match when Pandavas were at the height of their power and their kingdoms were flourishing everywhere, and they were still under the throne of Hastinapur. They were still conducting themselves under the rule of the king. Yet they could not even let them rule Indraprastha and destroyed everything through that gambling match. Okay, but then the exile happened. They tolerated that exile. After that exile, they tried to negotiate peace. And they did not even want Indraprastha back. Krishna said, give them their warriors, they are rulers, they are Kshatriyas. They need to have a small kingdom to rule. They don't even need a kingdom. Give them
Mhm.
one village each, right? Panch gaon, 5
Yes.
villages for all of them. What did Duryodhan say? Duryodhan said, I will not even give them the land as much as tip of a needle, as much as the pinpoint of a needle. सुई की नोक जितना भी land नहीं दूंगा. Forget about Panch gaon. So that led to the war. All
Yes.
these atrocities were building up, yes, but their their efforts of negotiating peace also failed, because he knew that if he gave them 5 गांव, वो 5 villages को भी they will build them into something like Indraprastha. जैसे पहले उन्होंने, they were given a barren land and they had made a very flourishing kingdom on that barren land. Now if I give them 5 villages, they will make another Indraprastha on that, which will be more glorious than our Hastinapur, which will be so amazing like before. So this was his insecurity. He did not want to, he just wanted to annihilate. He was so envious that he just did not even want to see them. He did not want to let them do anything.
Yes.
That
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, and I was getting into that point too, where, they've taken the vow after the whole incident. And then obviously they went to Agyatwas and everything that they were supposed to do after. And then also they tried everything to make peace. But throughout these incidents, the kind of nature that Duryodhana showed was only because he had this protection from Bhishma. He knew Bhishma, Dronacharya. These are all dharmic people. They were not adharmic. But do you think if he was being stopped at the right points to not do these adharmic activities, so do you think if those people have acted rightfully at the right time, this would have been stopped?
Yes, Mataji. So you're talking about a very, uh, important aspect of Mahabharata, that is the upbringing of Duryodhana and other Kauravas. So upbringing is in the hand of parents. And so it was in the hands of Dhritarashtra, who is the king, who is the parent. So he is directly responsible for their conduct, their morality, their ethics, in inculcating righteousness and dharma in them, right?
Yes.
Which is what Mother Kunti had done for her sons. But Dhritarashtra, as Prabhupada said, you read in one of the purports, he had no spiritual vision. So he was blind and he was just focused on this, lamenting on this fact that I'm blind, and playing this victim card the whole time, that I need to be on the throne. But you're not fit to rule, because a king needs to have physical and mental faculties and everything about him. So being blind is a very great hindrance. So you cannot be the king, and he could not accept this. So this did not, this this hunger for power he conveyed to his sons also. So actually it's not the Bhishma that is the culprit here, it's Dhritarashtra. So Duryodhan and brothers, they have protection from Dhritarashtra, and he is the one responsible for their bad upbringing. Because he has support, even when the incidents with the kheer happened, when Lakshagraha happened, when they set fire to them, when they put them in that flammable house, that was actually done by the understanding from Dhritarashtra. Bhishma didn't even know. Dhritarashtra knew that such a Lakshagraha is being made, right? Bhishma was not party to that.
Yes.
So many things that that Dhritarashtra was very intimately aware of his son's flaws, faults, deficiencies, evil nature, evil-mindedness, but he never tried to curtail it, because this supported his, coming to power. So,
Correct.
so that is the problem, and that is why
Yeah.
other dependents. Bhishma is actually a dependent. Bhishma is not the king. Bhishma is a dependent. जैसे कोई वृद्ध व्यक्ति होता है, we
Yeah.
give guidance,
Because
but
Mataji, he had taken a vow, right, that he will be devoted to Hastinapur.
right.
And so that's where, so by reading the Mahabharata, the limited knowledge that I have from the readings of Mahabharata, I feel like in the beginning he just gave up the throne because he wanted he wanted happiness for his father, and he wanted his father to marry
Yes,
that
Mataji.
Matsakanya. And then he has done that throughout, and he's so powerful that he could have single-handedly won the Mahabharat war. He was that powerful, but he, because of that one pratigya that he had taken, that he will be devoted to Hastinapur, and obviously Dhritarashtra was the king, he just did not act according to the dharma each time. That's just my understanding, Mata. Just so I was trying to understand, if he had acted rightfully during time to time, this probably wouldn't have happened. But again, Krishna came so that all of these
Yes, Mataji.
adharmic
So,
kings can be
so
killed.
Bhishma, as you know, Bhishma's role in this, it's often questioned why Bhishma is on the side of Kauravas when he knows that they are all dharmic. This is a very important question actually that you have brought up. So now this is a different question, so I will address it differently now. So Bhishma is a great devotee. He's a pure Mahabhagavad devotee of the Lord. Okay, there are 12 Mahajans mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, and Bhishma Pitama, grandfather Bhishma, is one of the 12 Mahajans. Okay, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto itself, there is prayers of Bhishma. Bhishma did not even want to leave his body until he saw Krishna in front of him. So Bhishma, we know, is a great devotee. Now, when these devotees participate in these pastimes of the Lord, so there are some external actions that they perform and some internal things that are going on. Okay, we have often talked about that. So, for example, Mother Kekai, right? She's also a devotee of the Lord. Then why did she get swayed by mantras? Gossiping and accusations, right? So why did she behave in that way just because mantra riled her up and she gave Ram exile? She was so fond of Lord Ram. Why did that happen? It's so many times we can question these things. But so some devotees participate in Lord's pastime because they are fit to play a sort of a very hard role, a very, you can say, something that may be perceived as negative by people in the world, but they are the only ones that are fit to play that role. Okay, so so Bhishma has taken this vow in which he was always conducting himself according to the will of the king, not necessarily according to the will of the Lord. But in this way, he has shown many things. He has shown that if you do not act according to the will of the Lord, if you do not act according to dharma, no matter how strong you are, if you are on the if you are opposed to dharma, if you're standing opposite to Krishna, you will be annihilated, you will be destroyed. And this is what happened. So Bhishma is conveying this point that even though I am so powerful, so glorious, such a great Adhirati, warrior, such a great commander in chief and great general, I have defeated, Parshuram. Yet when I stand against Krishna, it is not possible for the greatest, the strongest, the most powerful, the most glorious person to win. So this is, there are some examples we learn. If we have all bad people, if it's all black and white fight, scriptures will not hold much charm to them. There will not be many lessons to learn. So so everybody understands Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra and all to be very negative people. So we are well, okay, they are negative people, they are the villains. But there have to be some gray zones. And those are the areas where, because all of us, we are not black and white. We are not Duryodhan or Arjun. We are actually in gray zones. We have conflicts between dharma and adharma. We sway between dharma and adharma. We have this attachments, just like Bhishma's attachment to the throne. And we know we have to conduct ourselves according to will of the Lord. We are fighting between the two, right? So this fight is real. And Bhishma shows that if, no matter how strong you are, if you are on the side of adharma, you will be destroyed, annihilated. So there are many lessons actually from Bhishma's actions. There are many lessons, but these gray areas where some devotees actually act in a compromising way, which is not approved by general people, there we learn lessons. Like Dhruva, when he was you just read in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Dhruva went to fight.
Yes.
Why did that happen? Or why did a great devotee of Parikshit Maharaj, why did he put snake around the saint's neck? Why are these devotees doing this? So in this way, we get some lessons. We understand that why did Indra commit so much offenses against Vrajvasis and Krishna himself? Why did Brahmaji get deluded and steal all Krishna's friends and calves? Such a great offense against Bhagwan and against Vrajvasis.
That's a different point of view, Mataji. I was just, yeah, that's a very good point. Where no matter how powerful you are, if you're against God's will, you're gonna get annihilated. So my point of view was like, if you are that powerful, like a powerful people in this world today need to act rightfully or in the will of God, so peace can sustain and stay. That
But
was
the
my
world
point
is
of
not
view.
like that, right? The world is not like that.
Correct.
That's why we learn lessons from scriptures. You see people in powerful positions horribly conducting themselves, saying whatever they want to say and doing whatever they want to do. They are not men of the best conduct at all. Their conduct cannot be emulated at all. But Mataji, this is external reason. Okay?
Yeah.
Internal reason is Krishna wants a solid fight. Okay? Somebody on the Kaurava side needs to be a very solid fighter. Otherwise, the war will be over in one day.
That's
So
correct.
Krishna engages in many rasas with his devotees. There are 5 primary rasas, but there are numerous secondary rasas. Bhishma gives pleasure to Krishna in what is called Veer Ras. Okay, so ये बंदर की बात है. Okay, so this is described in scriptures that Bhishma gives pleasure to Krishna in Veer Rasa. So there should be a worthy opponent on the opposite side. That's why Lord Balram did not participate. कि अगर बलराम या कृष्णा participate करेंगे, दोनों ने अपना अपना कुछ reason बना लिया कृष्णा और बलराम ने ना
Yes.
fight करने का. Because if they fought the war, it will be over in like 2 seconds.
2 seconds, yeah.
Bhishma is placed on the opposite side in such a nice, this is the ingenuity of Krishna to conduct this whole pastime is created by Krishna to show that, look, my devotee is fighting against me, and no matter how strong he is, he's engaging in this Veer Rasa internally, but externally he will be defeated. Also, Mataji, Krishna, in the gambling pastime, nobody came to help. This is very important for us to understand, especially because nobody will help. We will not get much help from this material world in terms of relationships or administration or police or lawyers or insurance people when we are in real danger. And that pastime shows that ultimately the soul has to surrender to Krishna. So this was very nicely plotted also, that nobody will speak in favor of Draupadi. There will only be one person who will come, and that person is Krishna. So think about the ingenuity, think about the genius of that pastime, of that gambling match. You think, or these people should speak up. Why would Pandavas being so strong not speaking up? Dhritarashtra not speaking up? Dronacharya, Bhishma not speaking up? They are not speaking up because we will see that in the world, people will not be able to help us. When the real problem comes, only Krishna will come. That is why we raise our hands in the same gesture as Mother Draupadi did. So in the same mood of surrender, that there is no other thing in this world that can save us except Krishna. So think of so don't take these things from a mundane, ordinary level. Go into the depths, into the layers and the various levels of these pastimes. These are ingenious. Like, this is a work of art, how these are created. So you have to understand that Krishna only was supposed to come to save her. Nobody else was supposed to save her. Krishna की glory कीर्ति कैसे होगी? उनका गान कैसा गाया जाएगा अगर भीष्मा बचा लेंगे तो?
Correct. That too, उसमें भी शायद I've read somewhere that when Draupadi actually asks him for help, that's when he comes. She tries everything on her own,
Yes.
and nothing happens, and then finally she surrenders. That Govind, you come, and then he comes.
Yes.
So
Yes, Mataji.
he's not going to come unless we keep remembering him. We keep devoted to him. Yeah.
So she called out, Govind Damodar Madhaveti. So she called out many names of Krishna, and then he came. So let's call out to him. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining. We have exceeded our time, so I'll stop.